Business Takeout presents
The CockTale Hour with L.A. Wade.
Welcome to the CockTale Hour, where we have intimate yet sobering conversations. And before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to Business Takeout. It's our non-for-profit social enterprise whose mission is to increase Black wealth and empower Black entrepreneurs. I'm your host, L.A. Wade, and today I am joined by none other than Mark Brathwaite, rapper, musician. Is that accurate?
Producer, musician, yes, hip hop artist. Thank you, thank you, LA, and web developer. That's true. Thank you, LA.
It works because you're able to utilize what your skills are to help yourself in the marketing and promotion.
Yeah, I did my own websites.
Okay, so we're gonna get to the work part of what you do in a second. Right. I just want to be able to kind of find a little bit more out about who you are as a person first. So, do you believe that you were called to do music?
Oh, for sure. Like from day one,
What was your earliest sign?
My earliest experience doing music, I would say I picked up piano at age 4.
4?
Yeah.
Like you were playing, you could distinguish the type of music you were playing?
Well, I'd started to learn piano basically. Like I'd started to learn some songs and scales and basically started going for lessons. And yeah, I had a really strict German teacher.
Wait, was her name Mrs. Raggett?
No, it was what was her name again? I'm trying to remember now. Oh my God, it's been too long.
Oh wow.
But she had a dog called Beethoven. And so the dog was it used to sit by the piano and like listen to the tones, just like Beethoven would. Like he would listen to the tones from the piano. It was a deaf dog, actually.
Stop this.
Yeah, it was wild. And yeah, so she was one of my first teachers. And I remember like just wanting to stop, and my parents didn't let me.
So. I think every child goes through where they wanted to stop playing like I did piano lessons, and they're like, oh, she's really gifted. She has a natural ear for music. And it's like, can we explore that instead of what you want me to do? Like, let's first give me some confidence with what I do. It sounds like your parents were very supportive of you learning music. Were any of them musicians?
Yeah, my mom played piano and a little bit of guitar. My dad plays saxophone and harmonica. So it's running. Yes, it's running in the genes. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's really cool to grow up in a family that play. So music was always there. It was a part of your life.
Always, yeah, always.
So which instruments do you play? Which ones are your favorite?
I play guitar and piano, and then sing and rap. Those are like my.
So when you first heard yourself sing, and when you first heard yourself rap, how did you know the difference between, you just, because like if I was to sing, I'd be like, yeah, I'm singing. But how did you know that it was, something that could be, put out there for others to consume?
You know what? Like it was a progression for me, because like I started with like piano recitals and then performing in a band on guitar. What? And playing like in different groups, like some blues groups, some rock groups, some jazz. Like I ended up having some residency at the Hilton playing jazz with my friend.
Oh, wow.
And so I'll play piano and like some guitar. And then like gradually I started doing backup vocals in some bands. And then I was like, well, I could sing as well as these guys, and I could rap, as well as these guys, as well as anybody. So I just decided that it was time for me to become a solo artist after a while.
Okay, so what was that thought process like? I always want to know from musicians, what made you decide to do music? Not just kind of like, do it as an emotional release, but like to do it, like the business of music as well.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it came from having experience playing in these different bands. Like we would play, in different venues, and we would get, sometimes a couple $100 or whatever it is, like split it among the members of the band and stuff. And
Yes.
you start to get encouraged by that. And I got encouraged to say, okay, let me try a thing on my own, and let me start recording my own music. I always got inspired by other artists too. So around the time,
What artist
Kanye,
inspired you?
there's a lot, but like, so obviously there's the classical element. I love my Mozart, my Beethoven, Chopin, all that stuff from before. Jazz artists like Duke Ellington and Oscar Peterson, Herbie Hancock, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin.
I wonder if Americans ever list Oscar Peterson, or is that distinctly Canadian?
I hope it's. I like to think that he's really broken the international barriers, because he's pretty renowned, like,
right,
as a piano player, especially for his left hand. Like, he's like got this exceptional left hand skills going on there.
Really? And is he left-handed?
I think so. His left hand was exceptional.
Wow, meaning that it moved faster than the right hand?
It was moving at a speed, like, not just speed, but also like dexterity, what he was able to do, like stretching and playing chords and things like that. He was very skilled in his ability to do those running bass lines as well,
right,
while playing chords in his right hand. So he's like very dexterous, like just very skilled in terms of like playing different lines at the same time.
That's amazing. I'm picturing him in my mind on the piano while you're saying that, and I can see what you're saying, and I don't know if people know about Oscar Peterson, because we have a large U.S. audience, but check him out, because if you appreciate music, you will definitely appreciate Oscar Peterson. And I'm struck by your attention to that kind of detail.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
because like when I first started on piano, like I was starting with classical piano, so there was a lot of attention to detail in terms of like dynamics and learning different types of pieces, like whether it was Bach or whatever the artist was. There was always, and so a lot of, like, we would get graded, we would do exams, we would do obviously recitals. And
did you have to perform at the Royal Ontario Museum?
I didn't have to.
No.
One of my friends performed there, actually. I always wanted to perform there. I haven't got the chance to play there yet, but I played in a lot of places, but I haven't got to play there yet.
Royal Conservatory.
Royal Conservatory, I've played. So basically I was trained classically through the Royal Conservatory.
Okay.
And so I did a lot of examinations, like written and performative examinations, for like theory and harmony and history. And then I actually started teaching piano and guitar after that.
And you don't do that anymore?
I just decided, like, I actually made a decision for myself, like, to go from basically I wanted to go from teaching to like performing and producing. Because I got really inspired. It goes back to artists that inspired me. I got really inspired by Kanye. Which album? So 808s and Heartbreak was really a big record for me. You knew it. Yeah.
You know why I knew it? Because when I was reading about you, and like I didn't know you before this moment.
Yeah.
I was reading about you and listening to your music. I kept thinking about Kid Cudi.
Oh, I remind you of Cudi? That's dope.
Well, there's aspects of you that remind me of that, because of the way that you put so much emotion and song into your rap, to your point of being both a singer and a rapper. And when you said Kanye, I know that Kid Cudi was instrumental in that album. So I was like, I knew that you were going to say that.
That's crazy. Yeah. No, that was a big... Yeah. And it's also, Kanye's relationship ended with his fiance at the time. And then his mother also passed, like, just before that album came out. So I was going through a similar situation, like with my mother passing as well. And it was like, it's something that really spoke to me.
Yes.
And like, yeah, I just really hooked into the emotion from that record, and just the journey that he goes on. Because there's like a lot of pain, but a lot of triumph in that whole album. That really spoke to me.
Yeah. So when you talk about, your mom and other people's of influence on your life,
Mhm.
talk to me about how they show up in your music, or at least in the music writing process.
Oh, well, my mom always inspired me to like be genuine and be true to myself. So it's like anytime I'm writing lyrics or writing chords or writing a song, it's just like her influence is always there because like she just puts so much energy and time into like who I am as a person that it's like an present influence between like my mom and my dad. They put a lot of energy and effort into like making sure we're like raised right.
Yeah.
Um
Do you feel
and
like that's what's going on in today's world?
oh, I feel like today is so different. Oh man, there's been so much like changes like since I first started as a musician and wanting to break into the industry to like breaking into the industry but still having a lot of barriers, to be honest with you, like a lot of like every artist there's always obstacles to overcome.
Yes.
And so I can identify it with some of the artists that have broken through and like their journey, like The Weeknd and Drake, and like I do identify with a lot of those Canadian artists, Bieber and stuff like that.
Right.
And
I'm a Bieber lover. There's a lot of
yeah,
people that are not Bieber lovers, and I think it's just hate because that kid is just mad talented,
he's super
regardless of,
talented.
you know what I mean? Like, did you see him playing the drums when he was little?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he gets, well, maybe not so much now. Maybe they allowed him to grow up and be who he is. But I remember in the beginning, it was almost like you had to whisper it or something that you really liked Justin Bieber.
Yeah,
Kind
he
of
was
like a
really,
boy
really
band.
pop in the beginning.
Yeah, because it's like saying that you loved NSYNC when you fully did because they're
Yeah.
talented, but you didn't want to say it because it's NSYNC. It's a pop.
Yeah, you never want to admit that in the beginning, but I think it's like okay now. Like people are going to like NSYNC reunion tours and
Right?
stuff. So it's
They
fine.
definitely love Justin. So
Yeah.
he got his card long time ago,
Yeah. Oh, he's certified. Yeah.
right? It's so true. Now, you said something about your mom and how she shows up in your songwriting in terms of your authenticity and transparency.
Mm,
Do you ever feel like you have to censor yourself when you're writing? Like it doesn't make the cut of the song, but it makes the cut when you're first doing it?
right. That's such a good question. Like honestly, in the beginning, I used to feel like I had to censor myself. Because like I don't know, like growing up in like Pentecostal Christian
Uh-oh.
household, it's like that pressure, like, this is gonna come across a certain way if you say this. And like so that those voices were there in the beginning, but
Yeah.
as I matured, I gradually just that didn't count for me. Like I was like, I'm gonna write how I want to write and express myself the way I want to express myself.
Right.
So that changed completely because I don't feel bound by those rules anymore at all.
Right. I feel
Yeah.
like when people grow up in the church, but they allow their relationship and maturity with God to continue, they move
Mhm.
from this institutionalized religion to
Mm.
this spirituality and relationship with God that allows them to be who He purposed you to be.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like I'm at right now. It's like there's like a freedom, and like
Wow.
I feel like I do have this like one-to-one relationship with God where I can just communicate my thoughts and like it's like a unique communication,
And it,
that
and
yeah. I was just
you
gonna
know,
say every individual should have, every
right?
individual should have that connection.
I agree. I was joking, well, not joking, but I was telling you a little bit about how cocktails with LA kind of was
Oh
like
yeah.
a thing, but people don't realize that like I can still love God and God can still love me, even though I talk in my other shows about love, sex, dating, relationships in its truest, rawest form.
Yeah, I mean, so those things are all here for a reason, and I don't know. I just don't consider any of that stuff to be like sinful. I know a lot of Christians like I don't really like identify as like I wouldn't say I identify as like Christian. I believe in God and I believe that you can have communication with like God, spirits, ancestors, like and all of that stuff is there for you and it's accessible.
Yeah.
So I don't come to it in the traditional sense. Like I've read the Bible, but like I don't feel like you have to be bound by those there's a lot of old rules in there that don't really apply to modern times. And
Right.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, I think that like love, sex, all of those things are part of what makes us human.
Right. And they show
And
up in people's music all the time.
yeah, and like there used to be like a judgment coming from the church, like when secular music talks about that stuff, but like secular music is like, and I hate to call it secular, it's just
I know.
music. Like
It's just music.
the music just talks about those things because they're real subjects and they're things that people care about.
Right.
They want to talk about, they want to express themselves, and
Yeah.
they have every right to without being judged or made to
Right.
feel like,
And you know what? I wish the church did a better job of talking about those topics so
yeah,
that people didn't feel such condemnation around
yeah,
the human being.
yeah. Even like, because one of my interviews before, I talked about the occult and like how the Christian church makes it feel like it's like a taboo thing when it really shouldn't be. It's like, it's about personal expression. How you relate to the spiritual realm is like your decision,
Right. And it's based off your experiences. And some people have that experience. Maybe
Yeah.
it was early for them, but
Yeah.
that's because that's the path that they're supposed to take in order to make an impact somewhere. So that's
Exactly.
a part of, but I do know that there are some biblical verses and references that come up in your music as well.
Yeah, there are some. Yeah, there are for sure.
Talk to me about it. You seem almost shocked that I noticed.
No, not at all. Not at all. Which ones did you pick up, like from Sunrise and stuff like that?
Yes. And I guess
Yeah.
that was the one that was related to your mom.
Yeah. I mean, especially with the Christian imagery, especially because that video is dedicated to her. She's very like devout Christian. And, I'm very appreciative of the dedication that my parents put into,
Yeah,
teaching us about that religion, teaching us about the faith and the importance of like having a relationship with God. And, they have like, I'm not gonna say they preach to us, but they taught, okay, it's important to have a relationship with Christ and like walk with Christ and like learn about him. And that is all very important.
It sounded like they led with example more than
They did.
to you. So, and that's what made it probably more internalized because it was a behavior that you saw. You saw how to act or be Christian in a sense. So that kind of bled in there. I was wondering about the biblical references. So I'm glad that we got a chance to talk about the spirituality. Now, in terms of you as an artist and not just somebody who likes music and then plays with it in that area, when you became a more music business kind of person, how do you feel like you were received by the Canadian market? Because I know the struggle is real.
Well, the struggle is super real. And for every it's like for every independent artist that I talk to, it's like the same journey of working really hard, trying to break barriers, trying to get a lot of people are focused on getting that deal that's going to really help catapult their career. And so when I first started in 2013, On the Rise was a song I did with Coleman Hell. And he got signed to Columbia with Sideways 8, which was like his collective and stuff. And so they had a relationship with 604, which is Chad Kroeger from Nickelback, the label that he's running. So then I got a look from them in the very early on.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, it was good.
Tell me about that experience. Like, what? Nickelback's following you? What do you like? What's your?
Well, the label was following me for a bit, and so that was exciting. It was just like it felt that at any moment I could get the deal that I wanted. I was like, okay.
Okay, what was the deal you wanted? Describe.
I wanted,
because we got to teach the people that are watching and learning from you.
Yeah, so I wanted something similar to what Drake had with like Young Money and Cash Money Records.
But not with those that group specifically.
Not necessarily them, but I liked them. I was later on approached by Cash Money in 2017. I had a lot of things happen to me.
Tell me about it. Let's go.
It's just so much. It's like where to start, like.
Okay, so 2013, you begin to do this. Nickelback gives you a look, and then how does it kind of develop from there?
Yeah, so 604 gave me a look, and then Michelle Tracy, one of my friends. She was kind of working closely with them, and then she got I think she was signed to, I want to say Sony, which later on I got a publishing deal with Sony as well. But that's like years down the road. That's like literally 8 years after I started. I finally got.
So because you mentioned that, so you can make, as an artist, you can make money off of just your songwriting,
Yes.
being a performer, being a producer, because writing doesn't mean production, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like you were a catch-all, and maybe that's why people gave you such good looks.
I was doing everything basically. I was very much like on that Kanye tip because I was, well, first of all, I was very inspired by Kanye. So I was like, let me make my own beats, let me write my own lyrics, let me produce for other people,
Yeah.
let me work with other producers. And like we applied to Factor, we got some grant funding for my first record, Phoenix.
What? You were one of the lucky few.
Oh yeah, it took a bit of effort for sure. And
did you eventually have to hire a specific Factor grant writer?
We had a grant writer, and that helps immensely. So for anybody who's watching this who's looking to apply for grants, I would really recommend having a grant writer. I do have a friend, Indigo, who actually did her own grants, and she was successful in receiving grant funding. So there are exceptions. It's just, I find it's just a little bit easier when you have someone who's like tailor-made.
What could people consider to pay for something like that for a grant writer?
Oh, well, it depends on the grant writer. We were lucky. She just took a percentage. I believe she just took 10%. So we ended up getting like 1,500 from Factor, and then she took 150, I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's actually like really, really reasonable, and then not always going to be that. Sometimes it might be like an hourly plus a flat rate. Okay. So it does tend to get sometimes more expensive, but if you're working with a good one, then you stand to get that money. You have like a much higher probability of getting that grant funding.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, that's yeah. So it's been a very dynamic 8 years, I'll say, because I started the company MCB Music in 2013. So it really like from opening. So in my first year, I opened for MGK, which was really crazy. Drop and Jason Clareman, they got me. Drop Daniels, Jason Clareman got me the MGK show, and opening for him with 4 other rappers was like a dream come true, very much.
Where did you go to find representation to even have you placed in that kind of scenario?
I searched it out. So basically, like, one thing I've noticed with independent artists is like we have to chase for, and we have to like bring things to life. We have to like chase after what we want and make it materialize. It's one of the most valuable lessons I could give to anybody who's, especially if they're first starting, is like, if you want anything, just make it materialize in your life, manifest it, as they say, because that's real.
And I sometimes wonder how we, like for myself and maybe for you also, is you have the end goal in your mind of what it's going to look like with what you're creating. But sometimes that can blind you or make you look past something that's happening right now. And so for me, taking the things that I'm able to check off my list in this moment versus in the future is also really important in terms of moving towards the goal. So like maybe people were coming to you for writing at first, or maybe people were coming to you for the production aspect, even though you wanted to do it all in the end. Right? So what are you going to do? Say, no, you either take me as everything or nothing, right? People shoot themselves in the foot like that.
That's true. Being open to opportunities. Yes. Yeah, you're right. I was like approached. Well, in the beginning, like even before I started my solo career, I was working with Bird and Keys. We were doing a lot of productions for like Cardinal Official and MGK as well, and French and ASAP, and all these people were coming to us for records. What's that?
The daddy to be ASAP Rocky?
Well, ASAP Ferg. So Bird did the record with ASAP Ferg. I wasn't on that record, but I did help him with a record that had Pusha and French Montana and MGK called 50.
That's what you created.
With him, yeah. We were a duo. We were a duo. And Keys, so there was another Keys before me, Bird and Keys. Unfortunately, Keys passed away.
Oh,
and
man.
then like Bird, R.I.P. to Keys, and Bird and I were like working on these records as well, and we started making a lot of placements. The problem with the big problem was like getting traction as producers was super difficult. It's still difficult, like because it's like you got to make a name for yourself, and then you've got to also negotiate in a way that like gets you paid.
Right? It sounds
Because
like you need to also come from Pickering because a lot of or Brampton. This seems to
yeah,
be where
Brampton, yeah,
where
Boy
the
Wonder and all
yeah,
them, yeah, Party Next Door, shout out.
yeah, right,
Yeah, so like we made a lot of progress, and again, like I always felt I need to start my own company. I need to start my own company because I knew I had a lot of music in me. I had a lot to give to the industry,
mm-hmm.
and so I started off on this journey of just like doing my first album, which my first album took a while, it took like 4 years
Wow,
because like I was working with Exit Muse and Gary from Cool Music, and they were like helping me with these records, helping with the mixing, mastering, and I was doing a lot of the writing, a lot of production. It was like a great collaborative effort.
right,
And once we finished, it like allowed me to tour that record. You know, I made a fair amount off of like album sales and stuff like that,
right.
and just like live performances. And
I love.
is that a comment from Abby?
Oh, let me. Oh, Abby, is that my Niger wife women? Elbow, elbow cough.
That's all I saw is elbow cough.
Abby, I don't know what you're talking about, but
What
thanks
does
for
that
watching.
mean? What does that mean? I'm
I don't know.
curious now.
Maybe she'll explain it to us after. That's why I think I was like, I'm not gonna even mention it, but you saw it, so
I saw it. Yeah, I had to comment.
oh, no worries. What was I just about to say now? I forget. I can't remember, but when I think about Canadian artists and how we're like crabs in a bucket in every aspect. It's not just the music. It's if you're BIPOC and you want to make an impact into the industry,
Yeah.
there's that saying that you have to go to the States. Did you ever consider going?
Oh my goodness.
Talk to me about the going
Yeah,
to
I
the
mean,
States conversation.
it is something I'm considering. So I always considered it. I did go to the States. I went to New York. I did like one live performance in New York. And I was actually trying to so it's so complicated, the industry. So I met
All
Jay-Z's
right.
nephew
You
in like
met Jay-Z's
27.
nephew?
Yeah, Rel Carter. Yeah, yeah.
What is
Yeah.
that's cool.
That's wild,
I
right?
love that.
He
How did
was
that happen?
he was running this show at somebody put me on. It might have been my sister and her boyfriend, like put me onto the fact. So shout out Pradeep and Sash for putting me on.
Listen,
So
yeah,
they were doing like a showcase at one of the venues in Toronto.
okay.
At which venue was it
Oh,
now?
they were here when you got the chance to meet.
Yeah, I met him here, but
Oh,
then I freestyled for him and he
no
liked it.
way.
So I
Do you
freestyled
remember
for him,
what
he
you
liked
said?
it, and then I was gonna go to New York to do a show for like Rock. There was like Rock Nation was going to be putting on another showcase there for him,
Right.
and
Oh,
then I was in touch with like his team and stuff, but unfortunately it fell through. Like just something I don't know what happened, but that's what I'm saying. How the industry gets super complicated and complex sometimes, but
yeah. You seem so, mild mannered and, quiet. But when you get into the music zone, do you have your version of a Sasha Fierce? Who's this person rapping? Because you sound very different. Like I noticed it the most in Rain. That's where I noticed it the most. I don't know, through all of them, all your songs, you hear a
yeah,
part of you that doesn't necessarily present right off the bat.
right. That's the God of War.
Oh, I love it. Talk to me
Yeah, I
about
mean, I
pushing
can be
that
mild
going
mannered.
on.
I could be mild mannered, but I could also be like a savage too. So you know,
Interesting.
but yeah, I'm nice for the purposes of PR. You know what I mean?
Hi, Wayne.
Hey Wayne, yeah, I can turn it on and off. I would say like obviously when I get on stage, it's like another element of focus, it's another element of like me being in a zone that's like different.
Yeah.
Especially like on a live stage. Like live streaming is one thing, but when I go onto like that live stage, I get into a different. yeah, it's like a type of Sasha Fierce for sure, I'd say.
So who shows up in the boardroom though? Because it must be very different being both artist and owner of your own label. Talk to me
Yeah.
about how you play within those two roles.
Yeah, so when it comes to negotiating like contracts, like say if I did some residencies in Toronto at different venues, the Gladstone and Poetry and stuff, and
That's
you
nice.
gotta, you gotta fight for yourself. Those venues, I will say, like they were super receptive of me and my music, and always encouraging, and always um, paid me well, and also they were they brought in like good audiences, built-in audiences, so I was able to like grow my fan base
Right.
and have
When
the
you,
opportunity to experiment.
I've never seen you live. I've never seen you before at all. But
Yeah,
do you do like live instrumentation when you are also performing?
it depends. Like I'm flexible. Sometimes I'll like sequence stuff, so I'll have like a some tracks set up with mixed with the live instruments. And other times I'll do like a full live set, which is like just classic, kind of like almost like a modern Jimi Hendrix that
Oh
raps.
man, stop this.
Yeah.
Like you're mad flexible. I
Yeah.
think that I can't believe not more people know about you in the sense that that's all of that you do. Not that they always want to have all of it, but you have been able to, I think, be successful in your own right without. I think it's the difference between popular and mass. Like you don't
Right.
have that machine working you from behind so that everybody knows, but you're almost niche in what you do so that you have a following. Once you hear your music and you like your music, they're going
Mhm.
to go with where you are. Has that been kind of like what you noticed about your own career?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I noticed is I've always gone in the direction that I wanted to go in. Would I ever consider signing Afrobeats Go Group? Sure. Holla at me. Holla at me.
That's
Bookings at
dope.
mcbmusic.net.
Yes,
And we can talk about it. Yeah, for sure.
that would be cool.
I'm considered like I always keep my options open. I've mostly been producing a lot of different artists because I am Adore, D Davin. We've been working on some stuff, especially last year. D Davin has a record called the Take Me Remix, which is dropping with Yayo and I. That's
Oh, wow.
dropping in mid-February, basically.
Okay, I like it.
So I've been active as a producer, so I'm always like open to producing
What other
web
kinds of music have you produced?
pop, obviously hip hop, R&B, even world music. I've done like I had a couple contracts for, and again like grant funded contracts for world
Yeah,
music. So I did,
I can
yeah, I
see
did
you
some.
being a really, I can see you having a lot of success actually in world music. She says, okay, perfect.
Perfect. Holla at me.
Yeah, but I would think that somebody who knows how to play many instruments and
Hmm.
understands music in that way is
Yeah,
is they're already set to do world music because you've been exposed to so many different types of music that it's going to be able to show up in
yeah,
anything that you produce, depending on what they want.
yeah.
But you were in the middle of talking about going to that decision and going to the U.S. to become the artist that you've always wanted to become. And that's where you are now, you're saying, in your career?
Well, it's something I've definitely been thinking about. Warner, maybe working for Warner as a producer, having some opportunities to work out of LA, work out of hopefully a warmer climate. uh,
Maybe
uh,
Nigeria.
yeah, even Nigeria, get my Afrobeat vibes on,
Right?
and but yeah, I've done some Afrobeat too. I've done a lot of different genres, even like dance music, some dubstep. I've
Okay.
experimented quite a bit.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's the US. It's one of those markets where there's definitely some opportunity to grow the fan base out there. So it's something I'm not closing it off. I'm keeping that open. I definitely want to go to ATL, and like when I spoke with Cash Money, that was one of the options. Is like we'll get your music played at Live, we'll get your music played in Miami, we'll get your music played in
How
all
did
these
they
different.
find out about you?
I met one of their
Music shop.
songwriters.
People shop mixtapes. What does someone who has your diversity? How do they try
My
to like?
catalog.
Yeah.
Uh, Well, at the time, I only had like, well, not even only, because like I had a full album and some singles and some music videos. Like I had a full body of music even then when they were scouting me.
Wow.
But yeah, they came to one of my shows at the Rivoli in Toronto.
What? That's
Was
how.
yeah,
So these are two interactions with Americans that kind of or can move in the music industry that found you here.
yeah. Well, I met Mike T, he's signed. He's actually Canadian, but he's signed to Cash Money as a songwriter. So that's where it developed from there.
Yeah. So we got to tap into the Canadians who crossed over in order to reach back to us.
Sometimes.
Okay, I get it. So
But,
you heard it here. This is how you get in. Mark is telling us all the secrets.
I'm giving you some insider information.
Now,
You're asking good questions.
Oh, thank you. I'm thinking about the pressure of reinventing yourself as an artist. And so somebody who's been doing it since 2013 and thinking about going to the US and all these different places and different sounds, and you have so many things and sounds available to you.
Yeah.
How do you navigate it, and how do you decide how to evolve as an artist to stay relevant?
Well, one of the biggest things for me has been going into IT. That like transformed my career, to be quite
What?
honest.
Music, IT. Okay, give it to
Yeah,
me.
so I just actually, so it's like my passion project. But basically, so I've been coding for a while, like number of years. But more recently, I got the job opportunity with like Revenue Canada to be a web developer there, and that like really helped me develop a lot of skills.
Wow.
And yeah, so I still kept designing my own websites using different frameworks, and my calling is actually to create this app called Collab Universe, which is my current project. It's my current application I'm working on that is going to be designed to launch independent artist careers.
Wow.
And basically, we're working on this application, and when it's finished, we're going to start doing some user acceptance testing. And then once we have a big enough user base, I'm going to be reaching out to the major players like the Sonys, the Live Nations, the Rock Nations. Like everybody's going to be hearing about this and having the opportunity to join.
Do they have things like that exist now? Because I think I heard of one.
They have some, but like they don't have the features that we're planning on bringing on.
So that's a really good in entrepreneurship is to see what's out there and then fill the gaps of what's missing.
Because we're making it about collaboration, so that there's going to be these in-app notifications that when people start working together, everybody's going to be notified. It's going to help grow their fan bases. It's going to allow them to have like financial funding. And
oh my gosh, that is a dope app. I wish you all the best with that.
Thank you.
Amazing. I feel like your passion project, it's usually the other way around. IT people usually have a passion project of like playing the guitar. You play everything, and you're like, my passion is like IT. It's like, okay. But as you're saying it hot off the press, I'm like, it's kind of like a writing process, and you conceptualize the song, or you conceptualize the product that you are developing on web, and it's like it's the same process. Would you say that?
It is similar. It's like it's as intricate. I mean, writing a song can be super intricate. This is a different type of intricacy in that like there's some frameworks, and we've got to bring together different elements and a lot of different screens and a lot of different logic. And there's obviously got to be a front end design that appeals to people and a back end design that's like really functional in the way that it handles like people's emails and phone numbers and like respects their privacy and all of that. So it's a big undertaking. It's like, it's the thing I really feel like I was put here to realize, like, let me build something that's going to launch, because it's one thing if like you could launch your career, but it's another thing if like you're launching other people's careers. Like for me, that's like Jay-Z level. Like when you're starting to launch other people's careers and they're getting contracts because of something you created. I'm like, that's dope for me. Like that's the epitome
Do you think of that when you consider which part of your career you like more? Would you like to be more of a solo artist that does these things? Or would you say that you would prefer to see a talent and then make them as big as they can be?
Well, right now, I really feel like my calling is tied to this application.
Yeah.
I feel like it's tied to the application in that I've done a lot to help blow up my career. Like I've done a lot of festivals, I've headlined, a lot of events. I've opened for some really big artists. I've sold, fair number of records. I've got a lot of streaming. I've got, a fan base. I feel like I've done a lot to like put myself on the map so that like booking agencies are aware of me. Obviously Sony gave me the look on publishing, BeatStars gave me a look on publishing. So there's that. So I feel like I've put myself in a good position as an artist to like not really have to focus 100% on that right now. Like I feel like my focus has shifted towards building this application. I feel like the application is going to make me quite popular because
Yeah.
yeah, because so I really feel like it's like a 2-for-1. Like I build the app and I get the recognition of building this app and bringing people to it and giving corporations the advertising space and for a large user base.
Yeah.
I give them all of those things. I get the notoriety of launching this thing like a Zuckerberg or a Musk or any of these like moguls.
Wow.
And then at the end of that process, like people have careers who didn't have careers before because I created it.
Right.
So I have two devs helping me right
Were you
now.
sitting in a bar one day and something fell on your head and you're like, Eureka, this is how I think we should do this. How did the formulation of the app idea even materialize? Where did it start?
I think it started with me feeling like I had done everything I can to try and break barriers in the Canadian music industry and feeling like I needed to create something to make the process more easy, more streamlined, and to give me that absolute freedom of like being my own boss eventually. Like I know it's a long road and there's a lot of effort involved, but I believe in entrepreneurship ultimately, and this is like one of the big points of this show.
Yes.
Black entrepreneurship.
It's hard, and to specify Black entrepreneurship, I mean, a lot of that speaks to the demographics, but
yeah,
regardless of our demographics, you've been able to succeed. And so I wondered about your resourcing and your networking from when you began.
mm-hmm.
Did that begin when you were taking lessons as a child, or how much influence did your family have in being able to position you into the right spaces?
Oh man, so I think it started. So networking for me started early, and I've always been like pretty sociable. So
Really?
like my life path is like really the artist life path, and like within that life path is like someone who's very attuned to their creativity and to social networking and all of those things. So I think it started from young for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of people went to my church. So like even like the lead singer of Division went to my church.
Oh,
Aisha Curry went to my
Pickering?
church. Huh?
Did you grow up in Pickering?
In Scarborough and then Markham. So a lot
It's
of
the Scarborough Pickering factor again. My old producer, Sheldon Shaw from Potential Films, he was from Pickering eventually,
yeah.
in the beginning, and we would go back and forth, and then he'd play a song, and then he's like, Pickering, and then it'd be like another song, and it's like, just so you know, that's Pickering again. So it was like
yeah.
hit after hit after hit. It seemed like Pickering was someplace, and Scarborough, of course.
Popping.
Right? It's where music or something happens. And maybe it's because you're behind God's back somewhere over there. And
some kind of inspiration for sure.
There is an inspiration. Maybe it's in the water.
There seems to be something in the water.
We can have you talk. Okay. Oh, I wanted to do this with you before we run out of time. How easy is it to write a song? Does it always have to be complex with lots of emotion, or can it just be I guess anything else would just be a jingle. What's the difference between a jingle and a song?
A jingle. It's a
Have you
funny
ever tried
question.
to
So
do jingles?
you know what? I've done a couple, but it's like not my bread and butter. Some people live off jingles. So
That's
jingles,
so
you
crazy.
know, these short 15 to 30 second, sometimes minute long sound bites, which are destined for commercials or radio or usually for advertisements to promote products
Right.
is what these jingles are used for.
Okay.
So that's a different type of writing altogether. It's like you're not that when you're writing for art, you want to sell the art, like you want people to consume it, but like when you're writing a jingle, it's like I need to write this, make this as catchy as possible so like it sticks in your head and you want the product.
Right. So
It's
are
a
you going to write
different
a jingle for your app?
Am I gonna write a jingle? I don't know, maybe. Like I wasn't even thinking about that. But
I
yeah,
was just
maybe.
last week I was talking to Big Vaughn, who's a big music producer in
Yeah.
Atlanta. And
Oh, okay.
he talked about the fact that he wrote a jingle. So I gave him this whole like fake idea for an app, oddly enough. And he was like so into it. He's like, this app is an amazing idea. And I'm like, I fully made it up for the process of this like interview.
Well, you should tap him on the show. Maybe he can write a collab jingle. That'd be cool.
There you
Should,
go. And he too likes to collaborate. And so your collaboration, someone like him, he says he takes in anybody who wants to reach out to him. He'll actually go through every single email and listen, and not just for the first couple of seconds.
I like that.
Because sometimes music, but he does it because he wants to collaborate. And
I love
so
that. I mean, that's the whole spirit of the app too. Is like let's bring people together because we're stronger together. We can do more together.
Yes. So once you got it all finalized, you may want to do a little DM there. Maybe he'll put some money behind you.
Yeah, I would love that. We need funding. We need more people who want to work with us. Like I have two Debs, Jonathan Cruz and Sarah Fell, Haymanot, who are working on the project with me.
Yeah.
And so for now, we have an advisor to Luca Zenni. I got to shout him out.
Yeah.
It's been a good. It's been like such a learning experience because like it's a startup, right? So you're starting a company and you want to get the ball rolling. And
exactly. That's a really great thing to figure out is the learning curve towards starting something that you've never done before.
Exactly. Yeah. It takes time, takes dedication, takes patience as well.
Because, and I would think kindness to yourself
as well. Yeah. Because you don't want to be like, oh, I could have done more. Like there's no help in being hard on yourself.
Right.
There's always the next day where you can say, okay, I didn't, there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, I didn't do as much as I wanted to today. Let me get at it again tomorrow. And then you strive to do more the next day.
Yeah. And that's something to take home. That's like a massive take home point as we're building Black wealth, we're building Black entrepreneurship, and the idea of being patient because, especially us in Canada, the demographic is quite small. Not to say that you're only making music for melanated people or BIPOC people. No. But you want to understand that there's only a little bit of us trying to do the same thing. So the opportunities are probably a lot more scarce. So, I hear from you things like diversify your skill set, educate yourself around different things and maybe pick up IT as a passion project.
Honestly, so in terms of my career progression, like that changed the course of my career progression so that now, I'm doing primarily like front end web development, but I'm working towards like full stack web development. And so for me, I was working in like compliance and insurance and tax. I was working in tax because I was working for Revenue Canada and like some other companies before.
Right.
I know. And so IT really helped me progress into like more of a situation where I was more comfortable earning more and with a great team, great colleagues.
You reference your team a lot, that process of putting a team together. How did you know what you needed to put in place and why was that person the one that got that role? What kind of things were you looking
for collab?
Yeah, or for collab or anything else that you've ever done.
Or MCB or whatever.
Yeah.
MCB. So like for me, like I always like to collaborate with different musicians. I like to, different guitar players, different drummers, different bassists. I always enjoy it. Sometimes with my friends, sometimes with, other friends slash colleagues that like I know to be competent and capable, and those different combinations like would help me accomplish different things and
Yes.
be playing in different places.
Right.
So I always loved, like, I never like to keep it the same every time. Sometimes I just perform solo as well, like just me and a piano or me and a guitar or me and a mic in a track,
Right. That's so dope. And
Yeah.
do you take part in the festivals? I think I read that you do, like
Yeah.
South by Southwest, North by Northeast.
I did. So I did Canadian Music Week. I did Indie Week. North by Northwest haven't done yet. I would like to, though.
I know. I wonder how it's happening with the pandemic and how it has
I don't know.
impacted your career. Has it made it better? The pandemic it made my
it's helped me, like the IT thing. The fact that I'm in IT has really helped to soften the blow of the pandemic. Like I was already working from home, like just after it started, and so that's really helped. Like pivoting, I always tell my family, I tell whoever, like learning to pivot into another direction when the world changes.
Right. The pivot. That's a big name. That's a big word in business, is the pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned to pivot. Because I always, like, I was planning for some years, like I want to get into IT. I want to be in an IT job, finally get the web developer job. And it's like, I'm happy. And at the same time, I have that freedom to work on and the skills and resources to like build my own projects.
Amazing.
So collab is coming, like, guys. Collabuniverse.com, like sign up, there's a sign up form there.
I'd like to do an extension of collab once you're finished and have it up and running to stretch into like film and television.
It is going to. So I know I didn't like say it, but so it's basically we're starting with music and then we want to expand into film, television, expand into visual arts, literary. There's basically no limit. It's like two people working together on almost anything, video game design or whatever it is. We want to be like the platform to house those things, to make those things happen.
I love it.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about scoring a movie or a TV show?
I've done a couple.
Oh.
Yeah. So I haven't done any feature length films, but I've scored a couple like short films and like YouTube interviews, actually something like this, but like the soundtrack for
it, like my song that played just before it started.
Yeah,
I bought my track online. I could have went to Collab and bought it, maybe.
Oh, on Collab. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Will you be able to purchase beats and songs from Collab as well?
Well, it's something we're going to work towards. Absolutely. Like our first priority is like making it a platform that promotes collaboration so that people are like aware of what's being created, the songs, the videos, whatever they are. And then, I think that's something, phase 1, phase 2 will implement so that like, okay, you want to purchase a song, you want to purchase a beat. We really want to create big contracts for people where like the song gets discovered by like Sony, or the song gets discovered by Universal Music Group or Warner or Atlantic or Parlophone or
right. You can create like a listening room in the background of the app for the music executives to go into listening rooms.
Yeah.
Suggested by you guys who are like, we've been kind of filtering through some things and almost act like a virtual A&R.
Yeah.
My brain is, don't give me an idea because
I like you.
Yeah. I'll just keep going. I'm a brainstormer by nature. So
I love that. Yeah. So that's all stuff. So yeah, we were playing with the idea of like incorporating those Clubhouse type features so that there's like that networking aspect. Those A&Rs are on the app, and those are all things we're going to work towards. I love that idea.
Yeah, that would be so dope to go into a listening room or like in the metaverse, create a cafe. Version of a like a coffee shop or a bar that you can hear certain sounds, like maybe more of the world music in the cafe, and maybe more of the hardcore hip hop and R&B in like a metaverse club or an underground rave, and you have all these different rooms.
Yeah, I actually love that.
I'm happy to do a brainstorming session.
I think you better.
Yeah. I do this with people all the time, and they're just like, it's like a faucet, especially if I smoke just a little bit of weed. It's just like it opens the gates for me.
That gets my mind going too. That gets my mind like just like racing, you know, like
it can just, and if you prompt me with a question or an idea like this, I can just keep going and creating off of it. It's like
I think we better.
Okay, you heard it here, folks. I'm going to be a contributor through brainstorming with collab.
and perhaps more. Like let's see.
More. Exactly. You never know. Especially with Abby trying to get you to do the Afro beats.
Hey.
Speaking of which, the Niger Wives of Toronto is a show that I do that's always looking for music to be placed into the show. So that's something that we can definitely look into.
Let's do that.
We're just launching. February 2nd will be our season 3 for the show. So big up to the Niger Wives. I always ask people these questions when I'm leaving. And the question is, what do you still thirst for in life? Like what is still legacy? This sounds like you've already created a legacy, but what is it that you still thirst for? And it doesn't have to be music related or tech related, just personally even. What do you still thirst for?
Yeah, freedom.
Yeah, you talked about freedom and creativity or something somewhere.
Yeah. So I still feel like I'm in the pursuit, you know, they say pursuit of happiness. Like I feel like I'm happy already, but like the pursuit of freedom now. So it's like I want to be able to wake up whenever I want to wake up and go wherever I want and buy whatever I want.
Well, what stops you from doing it now?
Nothing really. But I want, so you know when you like become like a CEO and there's like the ceiling of what you can afford and it just goes exponentially up. That's what I'm looking for. Like I'm looking for that like Zuckerberg ceiling, which is basically like limitless.
Right. Well, you know, I'm going to suggest a video. I don't know what it's called, but if you go on YouTube and you type in how do you turn a red paperclip into a home?
Oh, that's cool.
And it's such a cool idea. And this is for everybody watching. It's this guy's like, can I start with this paperclip and keep trading it until I get to a home? And I won't spoil it, but it's such a journey that this person goes through. And you'll have to go watch it to see if the person gets a home from trading this paperclip that he starts with. And
send me the link. Yeah, I need that.
Yeah, I definitely will. So I love that you thirst for that. I think the quote that I wrote down for you was that music is freedom and creative expression. And,
yes.
Did you write that? I don't know where I read that.
That's one of my quotes. Yeah.
Okay,
And I want to give that to other people. So that's part of what I envision with collab is like, it just gives people the freedom to like, when they're going to realize like when we do it together, that the strength of those things is like amplified.
I love that you use the word amplified because I often used to tell young people when I was doing this thing called Blueprint for Life that it's one thing to speak something, but it's another thing when you hold a mic and you speak words into the mic. The reverb of that, the butterfly effect with that is so much more powerful.
Yes.
And I asked the question, here's one more question for you. What's mightier, the mic or the pen?
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's so I guess I'll have to say the pen because the pen, when you write something down, like even after you're gone, it's going to be there.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't know.
I would say 50-50, but the pen allows things to be set in stone in a way. Like, you know how somebody, you know, a bunch of authors wrote the Bible, a bunch of authors wrote the Quran, and like, even after they're gone, this lives on that text.
Right.
That's the reason I would say the pen.
Yeah. I wonder if the things that we speak just moves on also throughout time anyway.
I think it's both. Yeah, it's a bit of both.
Right?
It depends, but like that's one sure way you have of like preserving it, you know.
Exactly.
With
We'll
the
have to
pen.
roll up and do a philosophy
We'll have to
conversation on
discuss that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We'll
Absolutely.
explore that when we're brainstorming the other ideas.
I'm ready. Trust.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to leave people with and how to reach you?
Yes, absolutely. MCB. My website is markbrathwaitemusic.com. My Instagram, mcbmusic.net. Get at me on collabuniverse.com as well. And for artists, just sign up, fill out that form. For anybody who's interested in getting involved, just fill out the form with a short message and we'll keep you in mind. And thanks to the CockTale Hour, LA, shout out. Dunno. Love you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for everybody for watching the CockTale Hour. I am your host, LA Wade. We will be back next Monday at 5 p.m. And this is all brought to you by Business Takeout, whose mission is really to empower and educate us around Black wealth and Black entrepreneurship, no matter what field you're in. So thank you so much for watching. Peace. Thanks, Mark.
If you enjoy our programming and want to help support Black entrepreneurship, please donate today. www.businesstakeout.com/donate.